This is the Backlog Battle Podcast, episode 187.
Booby trapped.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Backlog Battle Podcast. This is Alex.
And this is Anthony.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am ready to regurgitate whatever the fuck I want. What about you?
Well, it's funny you say that, because last week's episode went through how should I say this, a podcast processor of sorts. I don't know if you've heard anything of my tweets or anything of that sort.
Yeah, I know. I didn't need to see your tweets. You told me.
Yeah, in case people missed last week's episode, I actually tried to remove a lot of like our our ya knows, and all that stuff. But I also started removing a lot of our F words on there. Not to say that that's going to be a permanent thing. It was a test, okay? That's why the name of the episode was Beyond Normal, because it's totally beyond normal from what the norm of the podcast is. Yeah. Like, imagine Anthony only saying the F word once.
That is not going to happen.
No, normal circumstances, absolutely not. But, so... yeah, I tried to do that, but I've completely edited it so much, and because I was listening to it on the way to the gym today, and I was like, this doesn't feel normal at all. Like, and I thought of the title of the episode, and I'm like, I think at the time when we recorded the title, I didn't really think about it, like, in connection with the editing that I was doing. But then I was like, somehow the title fit perfectly to, like, what happened to this episode. Yeah.
Motherfucker got it. Oh, there's another F word to edit. Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. That was just, again, that was one test. It's not gonna happen this week. It didn't feel natural. Like, I edited out all our cuss words as much as I can. I left shit and a whole bunch of other stuff, crap or whatever. But like, I missed 2 F-bombs in the episode. I actually said one, and then you said one. And I'm like, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, well, so much for that idea.
Oh, hey, I don't use F-bomb. I just say it, fuck.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. It would not be normal if I didn't say fuck. You'd be concerned.
I would be. I'd be like, who's this Anthony that I'm recording this podcast
He's polite.
with?
He has a moral fiber.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't cuss, that you're immediately polite. Because you do still say, shit and crap and all that stuff. And that's totally fine. That's, I would much rather us censor ourselves as kind of a joke, as opposed to somebody else going in and censoring us for some weird reason, right? So,
well, we've had people do that recently and in the past, so fuck
sure.
That. No censorship on this podcast. There you go.
Yeah. We like it raw on this podcast.
Yeah, fuck censorship. Fuck all that. You know what bugs me about censorship? The most? I'm the type of guy that, like, when they put a movie on TV, like on USA Network, I won't watch it on the USA Network because it's not the same movie. It's edited for time. It's edited with commercials. And I maybe could live with that, but the big thing is it's edited for content, so you don't get the whole experience of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I will have to watch that movie either on, like, a pay TV channel like HBO, or in its raw form on home video, whether that's streaming, Blu-ray, DVD.
Yeah, they removed the naughty bits in some of the movies.
Yeah, it's just not the same movie. And remember, people also forget it's not just edited for content, it's also edited for time.
Let me ask you this, Anthony. In the subject of naughty bits,
Oh God.
What was the very first movie you ever saw where you actually saw a naked breast?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't remember. I think it was maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't. I think I just maybe saw a lot. I don't know.
Okay, well, okay, let me change that question then. What was the earliest one that you remember? Do you want me to give the answer first before you so you can think about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
this is going to be ridiculous. So, this is obviously not the first time I've ever seen naked boobies on in a movie, right? But the earliest one that I can remember was actually when I was like 10 years old, and somehow my mom decided that taking me to watch a movie called See No Evil, Hear No Evil, which is a comedy, would be okay. And I still remember that scene where I think I forgot who the actors were. And if you could look it up, I would be so appreciative. But I remember this one scene in that movie where they're trying to sneak into this evil lady's like bedroom, but they had to go through the bathroom in order to do it because it's like some sort of hotel room or something like that. And the girl was trying to, she had like soap in her eyes, so she's trying to kind of feel for like, I don't know, like a towel or something like that. And so she was like kind of stretching across like the bathroom floor from the shower, and she's trying to grab a towel, and one of the guys was like sneaking across, and he almost got caught because the girl was like trying to kind of pat like the surface of wherever so that she can find like the towel. And then of course there it is, right? Like right then and there. But that's not really like the weirdest thing about it. The weirdest thing about this is that I was watching it with my mom, and it's a rated R, and it's a rated R movie. And I'm like, and I looked at her when I saw the boobies, and I'm like, wait, you're seriously not covering my eyeballs for this?
Oh shit.
So I was like, okay, I guess I'm an adult now. Of course, this being like my 10th year in the world, right?
You're an adult, Alex.
Right, apparently, but yeah, so have you thought of it? Like, do you remember?
Yeah, well, the movie is a Richard Pryor film.
The one that I mentioned?
Yeah, it's a Richard Pryor film.
See, I knew it. Oh, okay, I knew it because I was about to say Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, but I was so hesitant because I'm like, no, really? Like that? I've seen that? But yeah, so I'm looking at it right now too, and it's like from 1989. So yeah, that would be around. I would definitely be around 10 years old by that time.
I think I figured it out. It might be the earliest one. Is that Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America?
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a scene I think where he's he's getting bathed or something, and there's some naked chicks. Nothing. I don't know. That's what I remember.
Okay, so
that was back in like 87, 88, somewhere around those.
That's totally fine. Look, if that's the earliest you remember, that's totally fine. Like I said, like it just kind of came into my brain for some reason because I don't know, like I don't know. I actually don't even know why that was the first thing I wanted to talk about on a podcast about video games, but okay. It's like,
what was the first video game that you saw with nudity in it?
A video game with nudity?
Yep.
Really? Okay. Are we counting PC? I mean, we're counting PC games, right?
All video games. Yeah.
Okay, all video games. Strip poker. That's easy.
What? Okay.
Yeah, it was a old CGA PC game where they literally had, like this kind of like centerfold, but it's blocked by like panels. And what would happen is you'd essentially uncover each of the panels and stuff. Like the more hands you win in poker. So if you won that round, you get to pick like a panel to reveal and all that stuff. It's kind of weird and dumb.
Okay, sounds like a throwaway game.
There's a lot of them back then, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I remember in MAME I discovered, this is not my first video game with nudity, but I remember when I discovered MAME, there was all these mahjong, strip poker, strip pool games in MAME, yeah, from like Japan and Taiwan and shit. And it was funny. You play some chick at pool, and then she's like, "I got a reward for you," and you just see her naked. That's it. And it's like a shitty, like little 8-bit fucking drawn fucking picture of a girl.
Wow.
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was really did nothing. But
you know, I think I know why I'm thinking about boobs this whole time.
Why?
Because you're playing through Yakuza Kiwami, at least part of it, and there are places that you can actually watch a video of a girl. I think no. That's Yakuza 0. In Yakuza 0, you can actually watch a tantalizing video of a girl just posing in a bikini.
Huh.
Yeah. Although
or in Kiwami, you can play a mini game where girls dress up, put on bug hats, and wear literally nothing else other than that.
Yeah, there's that too.
There you go.
And just play like rock paper scissors, which is kind of insane.
Musou King.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I played Musou King. It was fun.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great. I played Musou King.
Yeah. How many cards? Musou King. How many cards do you have on that?
I don't know. I'm just trying to find them. They're all. They fucking you walk past them half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to find some Musou King. I got invited to the arena though.
Oh, okay.
If you know what I mean.
I think I know what you mean.
The arena though.
Yeah. I to kind of cut you off a little bit. There is a item that you can get that actually allows you to, that actually helps you find the cards. Like, it'll be like a sonar. It'll just kind of like ping you every single time. Like, you know, if you're close to like an item, or rather a card, it's actually super helpful. I recommend getting that if you're trying to collect the set, because I think that I almost think that I have to get that item so I can complete my set, because I do want to kind of get good at that game.
Oh yeah. Musou, the mini games in that game are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I played a lot of batting cages.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I get bored of you know what? I never touched really batting cages in Persona 5.
Mm-hmm.
I played it once and was like, fuck this. But
dude, it was hard, you know?
Yeah. But I got what I needed without having to play batting cages. You know what I mean? My proficiency. Yeah, I found other ways to increase your proficiency. That's why you go to the gym and other things. So
right. Well, for that particular game, I remember helping out my girlfriend trying to get the achievement for it. It was freaking hard, man. There's a specific achievement or trophy that you get if you, I think, hit a specific number of home runs at the batting cages in Persona 5. That was tough.
I don't have time to do that in the game. I don't.
Yeah, well.
I'm maxing out social links.
Yeah. Well, we were basically, you know, doing it on a day where we could just roll it back after we got the trophy. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't really playing it for the proficiency and those stats. We were just playing it to get the trophy.
I gotcha.
Yeah. The trophy is not connected with like progression. So in any case, so after talking about booby movies, video games with boobies, and lots of boobies in Yakuza Kiwami, I think it's time for us to actually talk about some video games. What do you say?
Well, we did talk about Kiwami. That's a video game.
I obviously it is. I mean, but we
did talk about it
in a roundabout way, right? And yeah, wow. I almost feel like I know the title of this episode.
But we're not done with the girls in bikinis. We are not.
I think I know where you're coming from with that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Where am I coming from?
Xenogears.
No.
No.
More in line with you know what? You never asked me what was the first video game that I saw nudity in. And that was Xenogears.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember that cutscene. I was actually like really surprised there was nudity on that when I was a kid. I was like, wait, really?
Oh, I was surprised with a lot of the things they did. They have a couple of scenes with characters in bed after sex, you know, and I mean the kind of pillow talk scenes that you see in TV shows where, you know, the girl has the bare shoulders and she's covered up. They have scenes like that in Xenogears. And that's crazy for a console game.
Yeah.
Of its time, even of a Square game. Like, you never saw that in any Final Fantasy. Even to this day, you don't see it in any Final Fantasy. You don't see that in any of the other RPG Square released, even the more mature ones like Vagrant Story. But Xenogears, yes, you did.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it was time.
It was crazy because, like, if I remember, that was in the opening cutscene. You know, with the anime cutscene, right? Like, I remember that. Like, there, I think it was like, I don't want to say the name of the person because that's a spoiler, but yeah, there's like a person standing there and you see their bare butt. I was like, wow, there's a bare butt.
Yep. You see that, and then there's the ending. The ending had nudity in it. There's the scenes where the characters are in bed together, a couple of them. There's scenes like that. So it's just one of those things, you know what I mean?
Sure.
With Xenogears. It was a pretty mature game for its time, I think. And I think in a way it had more mature themes than, say, the Final Fantasies, which I still adore all 3 Final Fantasies on the PlayStation. So, you know, it's... And here I go saying, you know, it is one of those things where Final Fantasy just... I don't know if it had the maturity at the time.
I think they were struggling with trying to make it into a more mature franchise. And I'm not talking about subject matter, right? I'm talking about, like, showing that the series has grown from the little chibi characters, you know, to having serious storylines in the Super Nintendo, and then really making a concerted effort to delve into much deeper issues, right? Like, you know, the state of the planet, for example, in Final Fantasy VII, your quest for identity in, you know, Final Fantasy VIII, for example. And then, of course, they go back to that kind of earlier art style, or at least harkens back to it with Final Fantasy IX, and then they got serious again with 10, right? Like, I feel like there's a certain expectation for Final Fantasy in terms of a serious storyline, but there's always that threshold where I feel like the series will never ever cross. Like, for example, you know, Xenogears is all about religion, right? So that's something that Final Fantasy might play around with in a very roundabout way. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I disagree with that. You're forgetting 10.
Well, I was
10
about to
not roundabout.
I was going to bring up 10 because it wasn't necessarily that, you know, it was anti-religion of sorts, but it was more like, it was more of a question of belief systems in that game. And yeah, belief systems and religion are mostly tied, but there wasn't really, I don't know, like, I didn't really feel like 10 was all about religion, even though it seemed like it.
But I have a question for you, though.
Okay.
Is Xenogears anti-religious?
I can't answer that question. I haven't played the game.
I know, but it has a reputation of being anti-religious. And a lot of people, including myself, who have played the game, beg to differ. But you do know about that reputation, obviously, right?
Of course.
It is not anti-religious. It is not anti-religious. Here's the thing about that game. There are 2 fates in the game, okay? Not going to spoil who they are. But one is your corrupt, sort of typical religion. Corrupt, right? That type of thing. And then you have a religious order that is not corrupt. And then when they play with the idea of God, it plays into Gnosticism. Now, I'm not going to explain what Gnosticism is because that would be our whole show. Go look up Gnosticism on Wikipedia. I'm sure you know what it is, though, Alex. So
sure.
But it plays more with ideas of Gnosticism than anti-religious. I think there are a lot of people who don't. And again, as I said last week, this game does not have the best translation, but it does not explicitly hide the fact that it is not anti-religious. It's not anti-religious. I think that just some people don't understand the game as they should. I hate to sound like an elitist, but that's the truth. Those who say Xenogears is a religion-hating game, you just don't get it. I'm sorry, but that's a fact.
So, okay, well, like I said, I think that Xenogears does have a lot to say about religion, right? But
it has a lot to say, but it's not anti-religious.
Sure, I think it
has negative things to say about it, but it's not anti.
Right. I think I feel the same way with 10, right? Like, I mean, let's think about Final Fantasy X for a second here. Like, it is all about, like, hey, your beliefs are actually wrong because there's a even larger situation here that's actually happening, right? And I don't necessarily think that it's an attack on religion per se, but it's more of an attack on, I mean, not really even an attack. It's more of along the lines of like questioning what you're doing in relation to your fate, right? Like, here's a good example. You could be a Christian, right? You could try to follow the 10 Commandments, but you could also be a hypocrite and actually, like, I don't know, maybe lie to your neighbor or try to steal something or be covetous of something else, right? Like,
kill someone.
Or well, that's the extreme, right? But if you're trying to live your life in an extreme way, and I feel like Final Fantasy X is kind of like that extreme, right? Because everybody follows the way of Yevon. Everybody. Nobody actually even questions why those things happen, right? Like, summoners need to die. That's the sacrifice. That's why sin, and all this stuff, gets regurgitated every single time. Nobody questions that, and I feel like in a way it almost parallels the separation of the Anglican Church to the Catholic Church in a way, because I don't know if you remember, like, or studied theology. Yeah, so because questions were asked, that's when the Anglican Church kind of came out. Also one of the reasons why the Anglican Church has female priests, and anyways, that's way beyond topic. But that's kind of like where I see Final Fantasy X. It's not necessarily anti-religion, but it's more a question of like, hey, I know you believe in this. Do you feel like you have to follow every single thing, or do you want to just take like the good stuff about it, right? And I don't want to kind of go on another tangent, but Satanism, as much as so many people actually like slam that stuff, it actually isn't about evil casting spells or witchcraft and all that stuff.
Well, but it depends on what kind of Satanism. If you're talking about Anthony LaVeyan, Satanism, the most known, it's not even a religion. It's a atheistic selfishness philosophy.
Sure.
There you go. So,
but the basis of it is off of religious subtext, though. So you can't really say that that's just a philosophy, because if your philosophy is based off of a religious text and idea, it's kind of
it's atheistic. I have read the LaVeyan Bible. Trust me, it's atheistic. Yes, there are symbologies and there's references to demons, but they don't necessarily believe in it. Just I can't explain it, but you have to read the satanic. I'm just saying, okay?
All right.
It's a philosophy. It is not a religion.
Wow, we're going all over the place on this episode.
Okay, a religious episode.
Ugh.
But
you must be fun at dates. They talk about politics, religion.
I don't usually talk about those in dates because I'm trying to date someone, Alex. There's a difference.
I see. Okay. Well, all right. Okay. Well, let me butt in here. So, are you still playing Xenogears?
Yes, sir.
How's that coming along?
It's coming along pretty well. It's still noticing things that are different. It's a fascinating playthrough. One of the interesting criticisms in the game that has followed it since the beginning is it's got bad voice acting, right?
I don't think the voice acting.
Yeah, it does have voice acting. It's decent. It's not bad. I don't know how someone can compare it to, say, Mega Man 8 like they have. And let's keep in mind, there are maybe 3 cutscenes in the first part of the disc, and you don't see any cutscenes till towards the end of the game.
You know what?
First and foremost.
Now that you mention it, I do remember this horribly voice-acted scream from Faye in the first disc. And I was man, that's bad.
That is pretty bad. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But it's not the worst thing ever, though. Trust me, it's not the worst thing ever.
I mean,
it's not making...
it kind of sticks to my brain. It's like, no! Like, it's almost like an adult trying to sound like a kid.
Yeah, you know what, though? If that game was released today, I guarantee you they would voice act it.
The whole thing?
I really would. Yeah, I think they will. They've voice acted massive games, Alex. Look at all the Tales games. Those are fucking massive games, and those are heavily voice acted, even to the point where the skits are voice acted now. So, yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah, you could probably voice act a good chunk of that game.
Okay.
I really do think you could.
I honestly don't want it to happen. Mainly because, like, we talked about last week how the game is practically unfinished in most cases, you know, like, because of the second disc, the way that it is. We've talked about that last week. So I don't necessarily think that I need that game to be remade and voice acted, sadly. If anything,
okay,
I do want to hear more about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because it's coming at the end of the year, but I don't know, radio silence for some reason? Like, I haven't heard anything about it since the announcement.
Me either. That's a good point.
Yeah.
No Xenoblade Chronicles. I wonder what's going on. I wonder if I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed, though.
Oh, man. I mean, it's kind of a bummer because Nintendo's been kicking ass this year.
Oh, yeah, they have been. And that would be a kicker, a real kicker.
Yeah, in December, you have like a JRPG to play over the holidays? Man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, going back to Xenogears, though, what I would like to see is a retranslation.
I see.
I think a retranslation is fair to ask for because some of it's really awkward, and I think the story would be given better clarity because remember, this was one guy who worked on it because his other translators were scared of the content of the game, and that is true.
Right. Let me ask you this question. Have you seen anyone else actually attempt a new translation of it, like a fan translation?
I have looked a little bit, and I haven't dug as deep as I should. I would not be surprised if there is one, though, going on.
Okay.
Would you be surprised?
Maybe, just because I feel like everything that needs to be said about Xenogears has already been said. Now, what I mean by that is we're so far removed from that game to the point where it's been re-released so many times that I'm not necessarily sure that people care enough to go back to do all that work.
But I'll argue this, my friend. One, it hasn't been re-released that many times. It's only gotten the original release and a PlayStation Classics release in its original form. That is it. Number two, Final Fantasy VI has been re-released many, many, many times, and it has several fan translations.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Final Fantasy V. Of course, you know, a lot of people forget that at one point was the only way you could play it in English was via a fan translation.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, it's gotten it. Chrono Trigger, another one. I have history with one particular fan translation. We won't go into that. But that's the point, though. The point I'm making is these games have had official translations, and a lot of them really not that bad, especially the Chrono Trigger one for the DS release. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you agree? That's a fantastic translation. Mm-hmm. But they still have fan translations regardless. Mm-hmm. So, to be honest, I would not be surprised if Xenogears has one. I've even heard that Vagrant Story has one, and I've heard the translation in Vagrant Story is pretty damn good, the official translation. Mm-hmm. So, I'm just saying that if there's a Xenogears fan translation, I would not be surprised. So, and for my homework this week, I'm going to see if I can find one.
Okay. That's cool.
But yeah, but you get the point I'm making, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of lesser Square games that get fan translations, you know? Mm-hmm. Seiken Densetsu 3. Mm-hmm. That's the only way to play that in English, which is Secret of Mana 2 for those that don't know.
Yes.
But technically the third game in the series, which we explained last week.
So complicated, that whole thing.
Most Square numbering things are overly complicated.
Yeah.
I still, you know what pisses me off? I still have to explain to people that Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo is not Final Fantasy II. It's actually 4. There are still a lot of people who don't know this.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I believe it, though. Like, I feel like when you grow up with something, I feel like nostalgia is going to come to play whether or not you accept something or it sticks to your brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's not 4. It's not. It's 2 to me. I'm like,
all
but
right.
then again, I'm the guy who still argues that Robotnik is not Eggman. So
Damn straight, Anthony. Here.
That's a fact. Yeah, it's Robotnik. Fuck this Eggman. Eggman's such a stupid name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they make fun of that in Sonic Boom.
Really?
Yeah, Sonic Boom is basically like a meme generator because they make fun of everything Sonic. Well, they also make fun of the fact that, you know, the Dreamcast name is Dreamcast. I don't know how. I just saw this clip one day, and I was like, what? Like, they're talking about the Dreamcast? What the hell? This is a weird episode of Sonic.
On a show targeted for 7 to 10-year-olds who don't know what a Dreamcast is.
I think it's a wider net than just 7-year-olds, man, because I know a lot of adults that actually watch that show.
I'm not one.
I tried one episode and I just can't get into it. I feel like there's not enough memes.
Okay, not enough memes for Alex.
Not enough memes.
That'll make or break a show for you.
Of course. Entirely. Okay, so you mentioned Vagrant Story, which is made by Yasumi Matsuno, who also made Final Fantasy Tactics as well as Final Fantasy XII. Do you know where I'm going at here?
Yep, and the Tactics Ogres games.
And Tactics Ogres games. So, Final Fantasy XIV, they actually announced the release of the October patch, and they've posted a poster of what the new raid is going to be. Now, I talked about this a few months ago. It's called Return to Ivalice. We have absolutely no idea what it was all about, only that Yasumi Matsuno was writing the storyline. Well, Anthony, I can tell you some details about it finally, because about a week or so ago, it was the 4th year anniversary of Final Fantasy XIV, and they had a 14-hour live stream, and they revealed the first 24-man raid of Stormblood.
What's that? What is it?
It is going to be set in Rabanastre. From Final Fantasy XII. And the artwork to celebrate the patch features Ramza and Delita on the artwork.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, like there's no mistake. Like you look at that poster, you're like, that's Ramza and Delita. There's no mistake about like what they look like. So you're probably wondering like, okay, how the hell do those games fit in Final Fantasy XIV, right?
Yeah, especially if you played all of Tactics, which, you know, a few weeks ago, Sal and I, Salvador Payne, we basically said that it's probably one of the most fucked up games we ever played.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting for the day that I finally like get through that game and realize what you guys are talking about. Thankfully I've been spoiler free this whole time. So someday we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we should talk about it because it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think, how the fuck do those characters fit? How?
Okay, yeah. So interestingly enough, the story of Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy XII are apparently tales and legends that were told in Garlemald, which is the Garlean Empire's capital. So these are actually stories that exist in this world, but are not of actual events that have happened in Eorzea. So, like, the entire storyline of Tactics, it's a fairy tale. The entire storyline of 12, it's also a fairy tale in this world.
Grim fairy tales.
Yeah. Well, I mean, grim fairy tales. I mean, come on.
I didn't mean it that way. Motherfucker. No, I wasn't. That's a terrible pun.
Well, you said it.
Yeah, but I didn't intend to. You with your stupid Absu shit. Absu, fuck you, Absu shit.
But
my God.
You said it.
But not intentionally.
So that's how it fits. Now, the question of whether or not Ramza and Delita are actually physically showing up in the game, well, we're actually going to find out more about it this month, because the new patch is so big that they're actually splitting into two parts. So the first one was, 2 weeks ago, And then the other part is actually sometime this month before the patch comes out. So I'm really super excited about it. Again, like, we know that Naoki Yoshida, the director of Final Fantasy XIV, is a huge fan of Yasumi Matsuno's games, to the point where essentially the deep dungeon in the game that was added to Final Fantasy XIV is a fucking reference to Tactics Ogre, which is nuts if you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
We need what?
We need more Matsuno games.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna get into that because there is this game called Unsung Story.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's not. That's just pouring salt on the wounds. Let's not do that. Okay, I do want to talk about Destiny 2 though, because I did play it for about 6 hours, and as of this recording, it's only come out for less than 24 hours since, right? And I don't. How much do you remember of Destiny 1? Probably not a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
we had fun. We had fun though.
We had fun, but I don't know. But tell me about Destiny 2 though. What makes it better than Destiny 1? Which isn't too hard to do.
Yeah, that's true. Everything. So the first time I booted up the game, and this is not really a spoiler, but if you feel like it is, this is even before you start the game. This is even before you start the game. The game actually knows whether or not you played Destiny 1. And the nice thing that they do at the beginning of the game is they acknowledge that you played Destiny 1 and you've defeated certain things in Destiny 1. So what they do is they have this really awesome custom artwork for every single event that you participated. Let's say you beat Destiny or you beat one of the expansions. They have a hand-drawn artwork that shows up, and then it tells you, like, you know, the event, and then a description on the bottom. Like, for example, it says, like, you defeated an evil that was about to destroy the universe. And then, surprisingly enough, you'll also see your name and the name of your friend who you beat it with. In addition to that, also the date when you actually beat it. So, for example, when I beat Destiny 1, it was September 24th, 2014, and it actually had the date there and my buddy Chris's name right next to mine. Because it actually remembered that and acknowledged that, yeah, you actually did this. And then as you're scrolling through, you're also going to see all the other dates and all the other events in their own piece of artwork, just to kind of highlight, like, yeah, you did this on this date. So it's almost like celebrating that you've been part of the community this long, you know, and it's a way for them to kind of like acknowledge that, you know, even if you left, they still remember your achievements, which is, I think, a really nice kind of touch. You know?
Yeah, my achievements are nothing, so I probably won't get nothing.
Well, booting up the game, maybe there's a graphic for that, you know? But what, I guess, I want to start this off by asking you, what are the things you didn't like about Destiny 1? Because I know that when you and I played, we actually had a lot of fun playing it. But I think you and I felt like there were some things missing from it, right?
It felt staticky. The hub area didn't have enough life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just like, I sell stuff. Why do you sell stuff? I sell stuff. You know, most hub areas should at least have some semblance of a personality, right?
Right.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I sell stuff. Okay, nice. I said that already.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I guess the equipment, just there, the gunplay's perfect, the action's pretty damn good, but the story wasn't there. It seemed like a bland, barren game without any personality.
I want to add to that, actually.
Okay.
The loading times, they were bad.
Oh yeah,
they were bad.
They were bad. Yeah, especially now when we live in a post-Persona 5 world, so...
Right, well, I mean, post-GTA 3 world. I mean, let's be honest here. GTA 3 was the one that mastered, like, hey, one loading time and then the rest of the game just streams. I mean...
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's PS2, people. You know? There are ways to trick this. So, and one of the things, too, that I want to say is after you beat something in Destiny 1, I was always pissed off because it would always kick you back in the solar system. Remember that? Like, when you beat a mission or a story mission, it always kicks you back to the to the solar system where what they call the director and give you the map of the planets, which to me, I was like, why? Like, that's kind of a waste of time. So I have to reload the fucking level because I've finished the level and now I have a mission there, and so now I have to reload it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's
and
shitty thing to do.
And we always are very critical here about side quests these days, right?
Yes, especially you and I. We are a post Witcher 3 world.
Yes. I mean, that game gets thrown around a lot in this podcast because it is the high watermark for side quests.
And we're still going to talk about The Witcher 3, so deal with it.
Yeah, so that said, though, in Destiny 1, the side quests were just randomly generated quests, right? You remember that?
Yep.
It was just like, all right, well, there's a beacon here. You activate it. It tells you to go here. You do it, and it's done. And then now there's like more stuff that spawns. And it didn't mean a single thing. It didn't even add to the world. Worse.
And you know what's...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm so excited about talking about this game. So
I know. You're in love with it, obviously. I can tell. With Final Fantasy XIV at the time, which I was playing extensively back in those days, that hurt Destiny for me. Destiny just felt so bland compared to Final Fantasy XIV.
Well, yeah. I think even World of Warcraft, I would say had more... it had to have more story, right? Because, there is a level of engagement for people who play World of Warcraft that is beyond understanding sometimes. But like what we talked about last week with Blizzard games, the lore is there. It is... Blizzard's bread and butter. They are really good at that stuff. And playing a game like, say, World of Warcraft or even Final Fantasy XIV, it makes you immediately realize how Destiny 1 just didn't have any of that, right? Now, we're talking about vanilla Destiny, because over the years, they have piecemealed and slowly bootstrapped and fixed what Destiny 1 was, right? And then we come to Destiny 2. And it's a weird roundabout way of kind of talking about Destiny 2, because we started off with like your memories of the game and now talking about what wasn't good about Destiny 1. And then, now that we're kind of full bore into this, I can tell you without a shadow of a fact that all the things that we mentioned, they're all fixed in the new game. Like,
what?
Yeah, so in fact,
even story. Bungie does
story.
Yeah, I don't have to buy a Destiny novel.
No. The lore,
Okay.
The lore is not like on a stupid app. It's actually built into the game. It even has its own button sometimes, where you just basically hit the L2 button. It's like the lore button, and it gives you background. But let's go through like some of the things that you mentioned that were complaints. Like you said, like the hub area is lifeless. Well, the new area is actually very much filled with life. And, unlike the characters in the tower in Destiny 1, some of the characters here actually give you some detail as to who they are relative to your experience. They actually have like a monologue in addition to the quest text on the right side. And the presentation is interesting because on the bottom left, you actually see their names and then a little description to kind of get you like a quick cliff note of who they are and what their personality is. Like, like if, let's say this person here is a shady bitch, they'll have their name and in the bottom they'll say shady bitch or something like that, right?
Shady bitch.
Something to that degree, right? Like something that will immediately tell you the personality of that person, even though you're not getting like hours and hours worth of character development, if that makes sense. So it already imbues a sense of character to a character that you just met, if that makes sense. And this goes for every single character. And they're not just like, oh, I'm here to just decrypt engrams for you, or I'm just a quest giver. They actually have very meaningful things to say. Now, as of this recording, I have yet to actually go into a dungeon because all the 6 hours that I've been playing this game has all been story.
What?
Yeah.
Story?
Yeah. It's, what's funny? It's very reminiscent of Halo, old school Halo. And
without having to read novels. So I wouldn't say it's old school Halo. I would say it's Bungie actually knowing how to do a story.
Okay, well, it's the product of many, many years of just like thinking about how they could advance their storytelling in a medium that they're so familiar with, right? It's, to me, it's not the most complex story in the world, right? It doesn't have to be, though. The most important thing is that you're kind of having fun in this world with your friends, and the backdrop of it is a very engaging story, right? You don't need to know where Zavala comes from or Cade or anything, but that's a plus. And the game kind of hints at it, from time to time. But to me, it's one of those games that it's almost feels like an apology for the first game, if that makes sense. And that's a weird
an apology.
Thing. Yes.
Okay.
Like it's like, we know we messed up with Destiny 1. Here's what we really intended it to be. And it's interesting because they actually nail it. There are things that they do in Destiny 2 that are kind of wild. Like, for example, the story missions are pretty long, right? And I actually moved from one PlayStation 4 to another, and I was thinking to myself, man, in Destiny 1, if I actually like quit this mission midway, I'm going to have to replay that entire mission over and over again, like from the very beginning, right?
What? Well, you would have to, if you died, you would have to play it from the beginning.
No. You're obviously hearing this absolutely wrong.
Okay. Obviously.
When you play Destiny 1 and you play a mission, right? And then you move to another, and let's say you've just been trying this one mission over and over and over, but you keep dying, right? And you're more than halfway through the mission. If you move from one PlayStation 4 to another, or even turn off the PlayStation and then come back to it, the game is going to force you to start over that mission from the very beginning, right?
Yes, sir. And I think that's, I don't know how to feel about that. Keep going, though.
In Destiny 2, they actually fixed that, because I actually had stopped a mission midway, and then I went to the gym, and then I came back, and I was actually more than halfway through the mission that I was doing. I thought it was going to start me over from the very beginning, but it had started me from a checkpoint within that mission.
Nice. That's good game design.
Yeah.
Not hard to do. Oh, I don't understand why sometimes little concepts like this are so hard to comprehend for certain game developers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but Bungie's being pretty competent with this game.
Right.
I'm still not going to buy it, though. I have no interest, but they're being pretty competent.
Yeah. It's also pretty interesting because, like, the way that they tell stories is very much reminiscent of Halo. Like, they have the cutscene parts down, right? But the pacing of when you have an action scene and then having the actual level design tell the story for you. Like, for example, the first mission, basically, like, there's an invasion happening. And instead of actually just telling you, they're actually showing you what's actually going on. And the music, man, the music is fantastic. Like, I know, like, a lot of people love the Halo music and stuff like that. And Marty O'Donnell's music is fantastic for what it is, but Destiny 2, the first few story missions that I played, there was this sweeping orchestral song that I did not expect to hear in a Destiny game, and it was like it gave me the feeling of hopelessness with a little twinge of fate, and Destiny, pun intended, I guess, like, built into it, that I was just like, I have to listen to this song again, because I can't believe that this game has this song in it. Like, it's really odd. Whereas you go back to Destiny 1, and I can't tell you if I actually liked any of the songs in Destiny 1.
You don't remember?
I don't remember. Because
you remember the music to Destiny 1.
And Destiny 2, like, I actually played through the first part of the game twice to listen to that song, because I was like, no, that can't be like a song that like that exists. And the storytelling that was going on during that time, it was like, many days pass, many weeks pass, and it's like, and the song is still playing in many different, like, many different versions of it. And it was telling a story of how you basically fell from grace. Like, you basically, like, became this weakened person, and you're trying to kind of, take what you have and kind of, continue the fight, so to speak. It was such like a strong moment that it's almost like similar to that moment that you talked about towards the end of Halo Reach, where it was a very emotionally gripping moment, and it reminds me of that. And that's the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I, come to think of it, I don't remember a damn thing about Destiny 1's music.
Yeah, right?
Do you? You don't remember
No.
a damn thing? Yeah, no one does.
I know that one of the Beatles like made a song for Destiny 1, but
What?
yeah.
Well, okay, explain this to me. I didn't know this.
Paul McCartney actually has a song in Destiny 1.
What?
Yeah. You didn't know this?
No, I did not know this.
Yeah, well, now you do. But even then, like, I don't remember that. Like, it's not like a memorable thing. But then Destiny 2, I played it and I'm like, man, the songs, even up to the point where I'm at right now, I'm on one of the moons of Saturn, and they've got some really strong songs. Now, not everything is going to be orchestral, right? That's kind of overkill. But what I heard was like just really strong musical compositions that I've never heard before. And honestly, I couldn't believe I was listening to it in a freaking Bungie game. Like, Bungie was the last company that I would expect to have like good music in their games. Sorry for the fans out there, but that's just me, right? But wow, like, it really struck me, and that song is still playing in my brain right now as we're talking about this. But
well, let's be honest, that Halo theme, you do remember it.
Yes.
You can't argue with that, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but is it good though? I mean,
it's good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would argue it is. It's memorable. Like how many? Let's talk about this for a moment. You don't remember the Destiny soundtrack? I don't, but you remember that fucking Halo theme.
Yeah.
As you do, let's see, Bloody Tears, or as you do, Vampire Killer, or any Final Fantasy theme, or any Nobuo Uematsu song. You remember all that?
Mm-hmm.
I even fucking remember his fight theme, his weird ass fight theme from fucking Blue Dragon. So, I mean,
I don't know about Blue Dragon.
That, yeah, I played Blue Dragon. Did you play Blue Dragon?
No.
Okay.
I heard it was a piece of shit, so I didn't play it.
It's okay. It's not the best. It's not bad. I mean,
I feel like
we had.
Okay, let's cycle back here. Halo is a very big series that Microsoft put a lot of money on to make sure that you don't forget that soundtrack or that specific song.
Right.
Can you remember any other song?
No, but I'm just talking about the Halo theme. And I did not mention any other song, just the Halo theme.
But this is kind of like where I'm getting at, right? Like these days, especially in 2017, we've heard a lot of really good songs.
Right.
Like, the boss music of Persona 5, for example.
Or the battle music.
The regular battle music. That's memorable, right? Like, it's, as far as I'm concerned, like, that there are songs that tie very strongly with very specific moments in games. The Halo theme can tie in with anything, right? The same thing with the Mario theme, same thing with, Bloody Tears, all that stuff. Like, they could tie in with any scene in any of those games. But that one song that I was telling you about in Destiny 2 is tied directly to that scene because of the emotional impact of that scene, of what they were trying to convey. And it was so strong and sweeping that they didn't even need to tell any other story other than what I was seeing, which is hopelessness. We're dead. We're fucked. We're trying to move on kind of situation. That's literally what you would hear. Even if you heard the song, you're like, that's exactly what that song is telling, right? But I feel like we've kind of obsessed about the song in Destiny 2 because it's not really the best parts about this game too. Like, I mean, it is part of it, right? But it's got some great voice acting. The guy who plays Ignis is one of the main characters, and I was really surprised because when I heard him, I'm like, that's Ignis from Final Fantasy XV. That's kind of funny. Gideon Emery.
That's good call.
And inject a lot of storytelling that is very similar to the Halo storytelling that they've done in the past. Like, remember, like, the headset chatter that you get in Halo a lot? You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they tell stories. So they kind of do that sort of thing too, but with different people, like in the Resistance. So like that guy that I was telling you about might be talking to Hawthorne, which is the lady who's responsible for the new hub area in Destiny 2. You know, and they'll have like different chatter. The only thing that I feel like this game is missing, and this is more like a personal, thing, is I was hoping that the main character would talk more and not through the ghost. Because, I understand that the main character is supposed to be kind of like a shell, and it's just a representation of you in the world. But I feel like giving them a voice won't necessarily hurt it. You follow what I'm saying? I do. It's like, when they gave Shepard a voice in Mass Effect, I mean, he or she has always had a voice in the series. It added a little bit more of a layer to that character, right? Yeah,
it did.
And, again, this is not like really a knock on it, right? But, I just wish they voice acted that character. That being said, loading times are quick. Not super quick, but quicker than Destiny 1. Significantly quicker. They have teleporting areas now where you could basically like shorten your travel time. So like, let's say you're in a dungeon and you still kind of want to stay in the area. It doesn't boot you back to the solar system anymore. You can still keep going. In fact, you can actually like fast travel to one of the hub areas in that section and keep exploring and going that way. And I want to kind of end it with the side quests, because I do want to talk about...
end it with the side quests, because I'm curious, are they done right?
Yes. So they actually injected a lot of lore into the side quests, as well as, giving you a situational report on what's going on in that world. So a lot of the side missions are more meaningful. So like, for example, there was this one adventure, that's what they call it now, where you gotta help out this character install something install kind of like a communications array in this area and make sure it goes online. And it becomes this series of quests, and you wind up like having this boss battle at the end. But really, like, the point of it is that it's not just a simple like randomized dungeon thing. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It actually feels like they genuinely have a purpose there. It's not just to like, increase your experience points or get some money or anything like that. It's actually adding to your understanding of the plight that the Resistance and everybody else is going through. So it's almost similar to like the side quests in Final Fantasy XIV, where it actually gives you a good snapshot of what people are dealing with, and done in a very meaningful way, and it adds so much to Destiny 2 that Destiny 1, that it just makes you realize how much Destiny 1 fails at every single thing Destiny 2 does right.
Destiny 1 just failed in general, so...
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, they fixed it over time, but by then, the damage had already been done, Like, nobody would want to go back to Destiny 1. It was hard for me to actually convince people to even try out Destiny 1, because they have to go through that in the beginning.
Yeah.
They have some stuff that they have to go back. Now, the raids aren't out. I have yet to actually get to the end, but I'll tell you this. There is a lack of character development in the game, like, so far, but I'm enjoying it. I'm really having fun with it.
I don't know. I'm not my cup of tea, but I'm glad you like it, though.
Yeah. It seems like, I know that I brought this up a few months ago, but it definitely doesn't seem like you're into like an action game kind of mood, unless it's like a fighting game.
Yeah, I'm not. Destiny's just not. And that's fine. I know people like it, but yeah. I mean,
even when, last week when you brought up like, I should play Diablo 3, I should play Overwatch, you wouldn't. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but I feel like right now it's like you're kind of really into like the more cerebral turn-based strategy kind of
Yakuza
situations. Or I guess Yakuza's an action game, but then you can argue that playing rock, paper, scissors with bikini-clad women isn't necessarily action.
It's a little bit more depth. There's a lot of depth to Yakuza. It's not a simple action game.
Right.
And the fighting system has depth to it, so.
Right. Yeah. Very RPG-like.
Yeah, very RPG-like game.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, the other thing that I guess you wanted to talk about Tekken 7 as well, and I'm kind of curious, it was Labor Day this past weekend when we record. How did that work out?
Well, one, there's a big update to the game.
Okay.
And I talked a little bit about it on just the level that they put the percentage rates of disconnects and things like that. But there was also a DLC pack, which I picked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has Tekken Bowling.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. And then it added a bunch of costumes, some from Tekken Dark Resurrection. And then, of course, the swimsuits that were deleted from the initial Western releases of Tekken.
Mm-hmm.
Because for some reason now, I guess bikini costumes equal, hatred.
That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, but look at all the fucking costumes that DOA 5 gets. Jesus Christ.
I mean, what is it, like season 7 right now, right?
Yeah, and they're going to do a season 8.
Ugh.
Which I don't mind, but,
Way to go to milk money from us, right?
Yeah, I haven't played DOA in a while. Tekken's kind of my new jam these days.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I think I'd have to get used. It's kind of one of those things where if I play DOA 5, I'd have to get used to it. But then if I went back to Tekken, I'd have to get used to that.
Right.
Because they're both 3D fighters. But yeah, so some pretty big updates. But on Labor Day, people were uncharacteristically hostile.
Wow.
So I sent one guy. And his, I'm not going to give his gamer tag out because that's unclassy, but I'll tell you, he was a Kanye West fan. So,
okay.
So yeah, that says a lot about his tastes. Anyway, I sent him, good game. And then he replies, no, it wasn't. And then he got mad and explained why I'm a trash Tekken player.
Wow. That's
did
salty.
not use any. Oh yeah, he got real salty, but his explanations were unreadable.
Wow.
Because he did not use proper English. And he says, you're trash. And he wrote it, Y-O-U-R trash. And I guess he was referring to me owning my own trash in my house.
Yeah,
not
right?
Yeah. So I said, your grammar's horrible. And then he said, well, you must be an English teacher. Now, listeners of this show know that I am an English major. So I threw that in his fucking face. And he didn't like that. And I said, coming from the guy who I beat at Tekken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing, I blocked him because, I didn't have all day to spar with a 12-year-old child, which he kept calling me, of course, even though he's the one who got mad over a video game. Anyhow, I ran into him a few times, and I don't brag or trash or anything, but I will say his Steve Fox is garbage. I destroyed him 4 times running into him in random matches.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way, like ranked match works this way, it's kind of like the way Street Fighter V works,
mm-hmm.
where you select your character beforehand and you wait, but instead you actually are put in practice mode
mm-hmm.
to burn time. And then, of course, now they don't even show you who you're fighting with the new patch.
Wow.
So with that said, you don't know who you run into. So I fought him 4 times and destroyed him 4 times. Wow. To that idiot's credit, though, he didn't rage quit. But I still beat him. I even got a few perfects on him. Yeah, not a very good Steve Fox. And Steve Fox is kind of a hard character to use.
Steve Fox is. It's most certainly.
He doesn't even have kicks.
Yeah, I tried playing him a long time ago, and it was just, I struggled. It's, and I'm talking about, like, the very first appearance of Steve Fox, right? We're talking about, like, Tekken 4.
Yeah,
right?
Tekken 4.
And I love his style. But holy hell, is he difficult to use?
Yeah, he is pretty tricky to use.
Yeah.
He's a boxer character, so.
Right.
So, yeah, good old Steve Fox. And then there was another one, an Asuka player that I ran into. And it's interesting when you fight people who use the same character you do. I always think that's fascinating because you could learn about the other character. Well, I didn't learn a damn thing and utterly destroyed this character.
Wow, you were just been kicking ass in like Tekken for quite a while now.
Yeah, 2 months going.
Wow.
2 months.
Is this your new jam then? Because I feel like, yeah, you talked about Injustice 2, but man, I think this is your game. This is like your fighting game of this year, I think.
Yeah, it's in my probably going to be in my top 5 games of the year.
Wow.
So that's 2 games that we know of. You know.
So
Tekken 7,
so let me ask you this. Like, sorry, I'm like interrupting. So why do you feel like you're more inclined to play Tekken 7 over Injustice 2?
Or even Street Fighter 5, which I like both games a lot, and I think
Look,
hold on. Let me explain it. I know what you're going to say. You don't need to say it. I like both games a lot. Okay? But I think I'm more adept at 3D fighters than I am at 2D fighters.
Okay.
I'm just better at 3D fighters.
Okay.
So that's probably it. I mean, there's a reason why I'm pretty good at DOA 5. It's a 3D fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I just find that I get good at Soul Calibur games. It's just that I'm better at 3D fighters than I am at 2D fighters. Not saying I do not dislike 2D fighters, because I do revisit Injustice 2. I do revisit Mortal Kombat X. I do revisit Street Fighter 5. But I'm not as adept at those as I am at 3D fighters, because there's a certain level of difference between a 3D fighter and a 2D fighter. There's a lot. Sidestepping is a big thing. Environment is important, especially in Tekken 7. Not as much as it is in DOA 5. I think DOA 5 has really defined the way you do levels in a fighting game. Making one of the interesting things, I keep saying this, but I'm gonna regurgitate it again, is in DOA 5. In DOA 5, it is important to know what level you're playing in, because you have to know that level. Usually in a fighting game, that does not matter, but that's the interesting dynamic. Now, while Tekken 7 is not as, how can you say it, dynamic or melodramatic with its levels as DOA 5, you still have to know the level a little bit. Like, if you kick this guy enough times, will he fall through the floor? And if you fall through the floor, or he falls through the floor, he'll have an extra bounce, and that'll give you more time to do more of a juggle on him. It's things like that.
What do you mean by melodramatic? Like the levels cry?
No, just how extravagant they are.
Okay.
Yeah, because look at those levels in DOA 5. You have to know them. That's the crazy thing. There are trees that you could kick people through or get blocked into. It's just stuff like that. You have to know the levels. That's a crazy thing about DOA 5. That's why I'm super excited for them to someday announce DOA 6. It's been 5 years we've had DOA 5. And I think it's the best. Yeah. DOA 5 was originally released in 2012. Vanilla DOA 5, not Ultimate or Last Round, which is the current version that everyone plays on next gen consoles. Vanilla DOA 5.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years, man.
Crazy.
But again, you look at it, and I think the only game, I don't even know if you can call this series a fucking fighting game series at all. You kind of can. Is Power Stone is the only other one that comes up to me as being on par on DOA 5's level of choosing levels.
Yeah, I think ARMS kind of is up there too now.
Okay. I don't know about ARMS because I haven't played it, but I think, I can probably see that from what I've seen of that game.
Yeah, the levels play a part as much as the characters themselves, which is pretty crazy. So, but anyways, I do kind of want to segue us away from that and into the podcast question segment. But before that, I do want to kind of remind people that we do have an Amazon link. It is bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle. So if you're thinking of buying any video games, or even thinking about subscribing to Amazon Prime, please consider using our link. It is bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle. That's all one word, no spaces or anything like that. And any purchase that you do, which includes subscribing to Amazon Prime, which, by the way, Anthony, I don't know if you know this, but you actually get Twitch Prime as part of your Amazon Prime account these days.
Nice.
Yeah, which actually allows you to give a free 1 month subscription to any streamer that you like, who's either an affiliate or, a partner on Twitch. And of course, you get like 20% off on pre-ordered video games. And I know you don't pre-order a lot of games because you get things digitally, Anthony, but you can also get PSN cards on there as well, and that counts towards, the link that we use. So again, it is bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle, and if you do use it, we'd like to thank you for your support of the podcast.
Nice. Very well said.
Thank you. So now, let's get into the questions, which this is going to be pretty simple because it's actually singling you out, my friend.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you think, so let's just set that straight, okay?
All right.
You ready?
Yes.
All right. So this is from an anonymous sender. But again, it's not bad. It's not bad. They actually wanted to make sure, it says, "Dear Anthony, I wanted to ask you, since you and Alex have been making YouTube videos for the channel, if you're ever going to go back to making videos on your YouTube channel again. Thanks."
I probably stream. I mean, here's the thing, and I think it needs to be reiterated. My channel is in no way the same thing as Backlog Battle, right? We've agreed on this, correct?
Yeah.
What I do on my channel is different from maybe it's not entirely different, but when I solo, I'm in charge, right?
Sure.
I'm in charge. And usually, I'll make videos if I have the time. I don't have time to make videos now. Maybe streaming's a lot easier, but one of the reasons I haven't streamed, and I should explain this, is the internet situation. Alex knows about it. So I'll try to stream, but I don't know. I think I'm more into streaming for my channel because I just get to goof off and fuck off and such. I think I'm past the days of doing video rants. I do my rants on here or on TriPlays or whatever. Now, I did make a video recently, but it's a pretty depressing video.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a YouTuber that I associated myself, and ironically enough, was not friendly with, did pass away. It was respectful, though. I didn't go fuck you,
Okay.
Or I'm glad you're dead or any bullshit like
Whoa.
that.
Let's not.
No, I didn't say. No, I didn't say. I'm just saying what I did not say.
Okay.
So don't get all offended. I'm just saying what I didn't say.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't say anything like that. I had a couple other YouTubers, and we celebrated this YouTuber's life.
Okay.
Yeah. None of the gravestone dancing shit, because I would never do that.
So the too long did not read is you're probably gonna stream whenever you have a chance, but you don't have time right now, and you're probably not gonna go back to doing the same videos that you were used to do before.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe someday, because I've come back in spurts. I'm not going to do any Magus reboots or anything, because those never pan out. And I had, for over a year, I've kept this promise. I will do videos when I can, and that's been the way it's been.
So you're like Valve.
Yeah, I am the Valve of YouTube.
Yeah, except you can count past 2, right?
Oh yeah, I can count past 2.
Okay.
Yeah, well, way past 2.
Way past 2. Okay.
Well, you know what my biggest fear with Valve? They come out with the new IP.
Oh, they
come out with the first. Well,
yeah.
Hold on, just let me finish. They come out with the new IP, right? That's not an arcade game. They make one game, then they make a sequel 2 years later. Ends on a cliffhanger at the end.
I don't think they're gonna be making any more video games.
Oh, I know they're not.
I think they're done. I think this artifact experiment is. I mean, again, we don't know anything about it, right? I think it's going to crash and burn. It's a genre that is so oversaturated, and there's only really one really big CCG in the world, and that's Hearthstone, and people are still playing it more.
It emulates what happened in the TCG world in real life. I mean, when Magic came out, all kinds of everything had card games. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, every fucking thing. But which one is still standing?
Yep.
What does that sound like? Hearthstone.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that Magic the Gathering had the opportunity to do that, and then they just failed at understanding what that needs to be on computers or on mobile, So, oh well, it is what it is. But if you guys have any more questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please email us at podcast@mybacklogbattle.tv. Remember, you can also message us on Facebook as well. Like Anthony and I actually read that from time to time. And Twitter, of course, mention us, and we will be really glad. We'll be really glad to actually respond. And, one other thing, the Facebook community page. Check it out. We've been posting a lot of stuff there. We've got a really good community posting some really interesting stuff there. Like, there was one person who actually said that they were trying out Dragon Quest VIII for the first time because we kept talking about it during one of our shows. So, that's one of the many things that our community members have actually posted. But, and I think I want to do something with those posts as well. So, in any case, thank you very much for joining us this week, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed this wonderful, wonderful episode of the Backlog Battle Podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.